Hello everyone and welcome to episode 36 of the Bao Podcast. For today's episode, I'm excited to introduce you to Pieter-Jan Loyens, the Managing Director at Encon. Encon is an agency based in Bilzen that supports businesses with creative and innovative solutions in their transition towards becoming more sustainable. They distinguish themselves through their unique combination of ecology and economy, linking environmental awareness with cost savings and profitability for their clients. In recent years, they have built a strong market position with this approach. One of their most remarkable projects might be their very own headquarters in Bilzen, called Infinity. It is considered one of the most sustainable office buildings in Europe, with several sustainability certificates such as LEED and BREEAM. The design serves as a showcase for innovative technologies and sustainable architecture. I'm very curious to hear more about Encon and Pieter-Jan's journey so far, so let's dive into the conversation. Welcome, Pieter-Jan. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Benjamin. I'm doing very fine, thanks. I'm very glad to be here. So again, thank you for the invitation. First time I'm doing a podcast, so also very curious how this will go, and also glad to share some insights about what Encon is doing. And how we see the market of ESG services and needs evolving.
Wonderful, good to hear. At the Bao Podcast, we kind of have the habit to take it a little bit chronologically. Yeah. So we usually start at the beginning of the business or the research. Yeah. That we're discussing. Okay. So if it's okay for you, I would like to start with maybe a little bit of the background of how Encon was started and what the founding idea was behind the business.
Okay, very well. I was not there at the beginning. It was at 2002. I think both of us, we were still very young back then, back at the kindergarten or at the elementary school. So in 2002, Robin Brunings founded the company with his professor and also his wife back then. So the three of them, they started the company Encon. The idea was quite simple. Robin wanted to convince industrial companies, energy-intensive companies, that they could save costs by implementing energy-reducing measures. And the general idea back then and still today is that companies don't have to make choices between what's good for their business, so creating economic value, and what's good for our environment and society, so creating ecological or social value in doing so. So that is the general idea. Almost 23 years ago, so in June we will be 23 years in business. And throughout the let's say the growth journey of Encon, of course, we needed a proof of concept. We first needed to see if the industry was willing to pay for services that helped them save costs while saving energy. That was a success. Robin has been doing this by himself at the beginning, so as the one-man show. And in gaining traction, he convinced, because he's very inspirational person, he convinced other people to join him on this journey. Now, in the beginning, because he's an industrial engineer, technical guy, but also a real entrepreneur. In the beginning, we were focusing mainly on energy savings. But of course, then we kind of had to adapt ourselves towards some developments with regards to the upcoming technologies of renewable energy. So solar energy, wind energy, that was definitely a good solution in a cost-benefit way, but also reducing carbon emissions and energy consumption for companies. So we broadened our expertise towards energy savings and energy production to help companies make decisions in implementing those technologies. Further throughout the journey, we also came into contact with the real estate sector, because the real estate sector was, of course, interested in saving costs, saving energy, and producing energy, but they also had other needs with regards to their assets, and their assets that were leased or sold to investors or large tenants of multi-corporations had certain demands with regards to sustainability standards that were obtained on the assets. So we began to build up services to help real estate developers and investors in achieving sustainability certificates on their assets in order to further gain the interest of potential buyers and tenants. So I think more or less that was the journey from 22 to 2018, 19. And then, of course, the market started to emerge. There were different needs with regards to decarbonization plans. There was ESG legislation coming on top, reporting directives, and sustainability. So energy transformed to sustainability. So our approach was more holistic and broad. That is one big transition. Two, it became a strategic priority for companies. It meant that we were not having discussions with project managers and technical directors, but also with CEOs and owners of companies with regards to their ESG strategy, the rollout in terms of roadmaps and the projects related to that. And that is where we are today, not alone with Robin and myself, but with another 100 colleagues today. We are working on that mission.
That sounds like quite a journey already.
Yeah, it has been. I'm part of the journey for the past 7 years already. And I think when I entered the company in 2018, we were still very much focused on the energy aspect. So saving energy, helping companies implement renewable technologies and the sustainability certificates on assets. And I think we were 40-ish employees back then. So I have been on the front line of let's say the growth sprint that we had in the past years, which was quite remarkable because it was also fully organic growth, which we accomplished as a SME in Limburg in the east of Belgium. So we're quite proud of what we've already achieved, but we're very ambitious, so it doesn't stop. It will not stop here.
So no M&A, no buying of other businesses, just...
No. We attracted an external investor who has a minority stake in 2018. So it's a hustle-based investment company from a family who has always been active in energy and fossil fuels, but also decided to see the transition that was needed for the business of fossils, and who had been doing M&A in renewable energy technologies, climate solutions, and so on. So that's Hasco Invest, who has been a partner in the past 7 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when you think about it, the founder, you mentioned his name,
Robin.
Yeah. He was quite ahead of his time then to start something like this 22 years ago.
Yeah.
Was it with the original, and maybe that still is like the main goal? Mm-hmm. Like if you go to a client, do you pitch we can save CO2, or do you pitch we can save you money, mm-hmm. and on top of that we can save you CO2? Because it sounds from how you explained it just now that mm-hmm. the first idea was we are going to save you money mm-hmm. while also reducing emissions.
For us, the business, the link with business is very important, because we have to convince investors, managers to put their resources in these projects that have that create value on the three axes, on the economic, the ecological, and the social side. So if you're not able to connect with those people by talking business, by talking economics, then your idea and your pitch will not have the impact to convince them. So that was always the idea. If the company doesn't become better from it, or more resilient from the projects that we try to achieve together, then there's very little buy-in to get. So that is always the combination that we've been looking for. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he was ahead of his time, definitely. I think he had a very short career experience in the south of Africa in the wind energy sector. So he had been passionate about wind energy. so there was always a passion for renewable energy and technique, that definitely. But also someone who is a great entrepreneur. But there was no Al Gore. There were no. There was not a movie of An Inconvenient Truth. There were no legislative directives in Europe asking companies to report on certain topics. So it was quite ahead of the time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Can you maybe give the audience and myself a couple of examples of how you do this? Like, what are, for example, what are like the top 3 things that you do most as an organization inside these businesses?
Yeah.
That will result in not only, as you say it so well, an environmental benefit, but also
the ecological
okay, on the 3 axes.
Well, to explain this more in detail, I think we can, if we take a look at an organization, you always have certain layers and certain personas with responsibilities in executing the business model. So I would also like to give the value proposition on those 3 layers. So there are companies that have a clear need in still defining, like, okay, what does sustainability mean for our business? And of course, this is already an exercise that is very individual. So companies that are active in producing food or beverage, for example, they have different sustainability needs or strategic topics that need to be taken care of in comparison to real estate market. So defining what ESG means for their business strategy, for their business model, is a first step in the service that we offer to clearly choose and pick strategic priorities with regards to ESG, where the company is actually aligned, like, okay, we will work on these topics. It can be, of course, with regards to resources, it can be topics with regards to energy consumption or carbon emissions, or with regards to your social capital, your employees or your workers in the value chain if you have plenty of subcontractors, for example. So that's the first type of exercise that we can do with our customers. After having made those decisions and setting targets, we co-create roadmaps that will enable them to see the journey ahead, the projects to actually accomplish those targets, and also plan them throughout time and start budgeting them. So that's a very important step, because if you set goals towards net zero, if you set goals towards your social capital that has a certain experience level or a certain training method in terms of achieving safety standards and so on, there was always a plan that goes along. That has, in a smart way, it has to be specific. You have to measure that you're going in the right direction. It needs to be realistic and time-bound. So that is what we set up with them. Those are the roadmaps, the long-term plans in order to achieve the sustainability goals defined before. And then, of course, if we would stop there, we would be actually selling very expensive paper and advice. And we want the customer to have the economic benefit, as I just mentioned. So in those projects, we always try to seek for the economical benefit for the customer. And then, of course, we help them to implement it. So if net zero strategies, for example, in a food and beverage producing company are set, we can help them in creating the roadmap and further also implementing the technology needed to achieve net zero. So phasing out fossil fuels, making sure that they have electric e-boilers in their production processes, and steam is not anymore generated by steam turbines on gas, making sure that they have solar energy implemented on all their production sites or wind energy implemented everywhere. Those are actually the 3 levels on how we help customers as an independent advisor and engineering company.
Okay. Yeah. I understand. I mean, it makes sense to go further than just the theoretical level.
Yeah.
I mean, we've never worked with an organization like yours, but you hear stories of consultancy agencies who charge quite an amount to give a nice presentation, and then they leave. Yeah. And I can imagine that it can be frustrating at times as a client, because then you think, okay, now I have an idea, but now I need to start implementing. And yeah, in my experience, implementation is the most difficult part of it all.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that you could also still use some guidance on that front as well.
Yeah, but you need different expertise on implementation side if you compare it towards strategic and consultancy and roadmap developments. So that is, of course, also something that differentiates us today. We started, of course, being a very technical company. We were mainly engineering profiles and industrial engineering, civil engineering. And then, of course, we started to expand the service offering, but also attracting new types of colleagues that had different backgrounds. And that is something that is also very nice in the environment to work with, because you have like the collective knowledge of the deep technical solutions and the people who are very passionate about the technical side. But there's also a big part of change that has to happen, change management that has to happen throughout the organizations that we are guiding. And there we have different type of profiles that can help in guiding those processes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So in recent years, we've noticed that there have become quite a lot of competition in the sustainable, how do you call it? Consultancy?
The consultancy, the service business that is needed in order to achieve certain sustainability goals. Yeah.
Is that also the way how you differentiate yourself? By not only doing the theoretical, but also doing the practical?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe first of all, I think it's a very good thing that competition has emerged, because it means that the sense of urgency is rising. Still not hard enough in some parts of the world, let's say, but it means that the sense of urgency is rising. There's a market, there's a clear need. So the competition is good. It also keeps us sharp as an organization, because in the new, let's say, market that has emerged, we need to think and challenge ourselves on, okay, how will we differentiate ourselves? How will we stay relevant with new kids on the block? And the thing that we are not going to let go is the implementation side. So that is something that still makes us quite unique. But the business model behind it is also a complex one to manage. But then it comes more to my job on the personal side. So there is a certain complexity coming along with the business model. But that's also what makes it challenging and interesting to be working for the company. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine, because I think you already mentioned it, or we were talking before we started recording. You've been working at Encon for 7 years now?
Yeah, for 7 years, yeah.
And you started as a business developer, and now you are managing the entire organization.
Yeah, co-managing, let's say. So fortunately, Robin and Sandra are still very active in the organization, but we also invested in professionalizing our organization with the management team. So it's more co-leading, but that has been quite a journey.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it was quite a journey, and I think it's also a nice example of companies that give young people, because I'm still 30. I will be 33 years old this summer. That a company gives opportunities and chances to young professionals who have the ambition and drive to grow. That's one thing, but who also invest in the guidance and coaching that the young professionals still need, due to the fact that it is what it is. I'm not as experienced as managers or directors who are in their 40s or 50s. So those are years that I don't have yet, but where Encon also invests in coaching and training to make sure that I am fit for the job every day.
Mm-hmm. Can you maybe share some of the key learnings or insights that you've gone through in those 7 years?
Yeah, definitely. I think because I've been working for, this year I'll be working 10 years. So my professional career is like 10 years, and something that I've been doing for the past 10 years, not only at Encon, but always, even before, I was super curious. I was always trying to see how things work in organizations. Of course, when you're very curious, you stumble upon how things work, but also on how things are not working. So the frictions within organizations that sometimes are an obstacle for performance or growth. And even if it was not definitely my job as a business developer, I was still looking for, I was trying to understand very well, if I sell this to a customer, how does the organization make sure that what I promise and put on a paper here gets delivered in exact that way, so that the customer is always in line with what I've said. So I was always very curious on how it would go after I sell something or sign a deal. And that is how I was always enrolled in, let's say, service delivery, execution, and experience for the customer. So I was not just developing business, I was also very interested in how it was delivered, how it was perceived, if they were satisfied with the service, if things that could have been done better. So that is definitely something that is more a red line throughout the career. Then, of course, there's the aspect of drive. I think I'm happy to have had a good, my parents had a good work ethic. So if you're really putting some effort in something and you're passionate about something, then you can achieve a lot. So I never have been counting hours or days of work. I've just been counting successes or failures or things that I've achieved, but not really the time I put in, just that I'm feeling good while doing so. And then there's, of course, the aspect of leadership, because that is, let's say, a transition that I've been making after 5-6 years in my career. And that already started in my student time, I think, when I was studying business engineering at the University of Hasselt, where I was enrolled in student organization as a vice president and a president, the prezes. So it was also leading a team of volunteers and organizing nice student activities to give everyone a good time. So the leadership aspect maybe started to breed back then, and then throughout my career at AB InBev and Encon, also inspiring leaders inspire you to maybe do the same one day. So at AB InBev it was Jean-Jacques Velkeniers, who definitely left an impression in terms of leadership, like, whoa, okay, this guy can move an audience and make sure that everyone is performing at his best in order to achieve the mission of the company. So that was something that left definitely impression. But also Robin and Sandra afterwards at Encon, the entrepreneurship and leadership that definitely made me think like, whoa, maybe one day I want to help them in leading the company. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who was Jean-Jacques? Who?
Jean-Jacques Velkeniers. He was, I think, the vice president or the business unit director of Western Europe, I think, at the end of his career at AB InBev. And before he had several top functions in marketing and commercial roles at AB InBev on a European and global level. But he left a good impression. He was also from Limburg. In a big company, the Limburg connection stays, definitely stays.
It's the same with the camper.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, and we're still in contact today. Those are relationships that you have to foster, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I can imagine.
Yeah.
Was the sustainability aspect of Encon one of the reasons why you moved then from AB InBev to Encon? Or?
Not necessarily. I think when you're in that, let's say, period of your life, you're 22, 23 years old, first job, large corporate, AB InBev. Of course, my role has been evolving throughout those 3 years that I've been working there, working nationally. But I'm also someone who really likes active lifestyle, social lifestyle. So maybe working a little closer to home was definitely something that made me rethink my career. But also like, okay, will I be active in the brewery industry for in the next 10 years, or do I want to do something different? So just searching, as it is quite normal, I think, in that stage of your life, and stumbled per accident. I think my father forwarded me the vacancy at Encon. He was like, it it's a very cool company. They just built a very nice building. I once met the owner. He's very passionate, smart guy. Maybe this is something for you. Like, I think I still have the email or the WhatsApp that it was like, oh yeah, maybe, because I was searching in IT, I think, after AB InBev, or during my next, I was looking in the IT sector. And then I came, I went applying at Encon, and I was one of the first non-engineering profiles, or industrial or civil engineers. So I was a business engineer. Then you're not really an engineer. And he was like, yeah, let's give it a try. And still am here today. Yeah. That is a bit of the story, how I stumbled upon Encon. And of course, I live in Diepenbeek, which is 10-minute drive from the office. So in terms of the work-life balance, or let's call it work-life harmony, that was a big jump in the good direction. And I had time for my social life, for sports again. And
Awesome.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sounds like a good call.
Yeah, it was a good decision.
If we go back maybe a little bit more to Encon, the organization, I heard you mention that you're also active in the construction industry.
Yeah.
Can you give an example of some of the work that you've done in the construction industry and the impact that it can have?
Yeah, definitely. When you look at the construction industry and the ecosystem that goes along, we work for the producers of construction materials, for example. So you have producers of windows, of let's call it bricks, the producers of lighting, and there we were more active in enhancing their processes at their factories. So this is a part of the ecosystem where we are more working at the performance level, but also giving them insights on, okay, what is now the total emission impact of my product throughout the life cycle, so that they can see, like, okay, if today, or for example, our window is made with these and these resources and via these processes, then there is a carbon impact of X ton CO2 per produced window. And then they can see, like, okay, which are the biggest drivers of those emissions, and what can I do alternatively to reduce them? So that is more at the production side. Then, of course, if you have the contractors, but also the architects and engineering companies who are essential in realizing new assets, new buildings.
Can you give some examples of names of businesses, of like contractors that you work for?
Yeah, definitely. We've been working with Stadsbader, for example, Stadsbader Alheenbouw. We've been working with Janssen Building Group, with Democo. So those are contractors who we have been working with. Dittier, and also based in Limburg. So with the contractors, sometimes they have a specific client need in achieving BREEAM certification, LEED certification, and so on. And it is in their assignment to do so. Willy Nasus, also one of them. So then we actually help them in setting up the processes that are needed in order to achieve those certificates. But also those contractors have own assets. That sometimes have the opportunity to develop renewable energy on their on their assets, on their terrains, and so on. And then, of course, there's the developer and the investor of the asset, and they also need certain certificates. Sometimes it's not the responsibility of the contractor, but of the developer and the investor. Then we help them in setting up the processes as we would have set them up for developers as well.
Can you say a little bit more about these? You mentioned them before. You just mentioned them. I also read them in the introduction. The BREEAM and LEED.
Yeah.
Can you say a little bit more what it means to achieve these labels and what a project must do to achieve them?
Definitely. BREEAM, I think it's definitely the most frequently used sustainability standard when it comes to assets and construction, let's say. Founded in the UK, I think somewhere in the 80s. And today most commonly used for example, logistic real estate, office buildings, hotels, mixed use.
Not residential.
There is, I think in the Netherlands, BREEAM has also been applied in the residential market. In Belgium, it's not so frequent. It doesn't happen. How does it work? So there's an independent, let's say, certification organization in the UK. It's called the BRE. And the BRE trains certain professionals like Encon, but also other competitors in the market who train their people to be assessors. And those assessors are actually verified professionals who are able to control the assessment if the necessary criteria and measures have been taken in order to achieve a certain standard or a certain level at the standard. What does it demand? It demands you to take measures in design and construction phase with regards to sustainability in 10 categories. Categories such as energy efficiency, waste, health and well-being, pollution, innovation, and so on. And there are 5 levels, let's say: a pass, good, very good, excellent, and outstanding. And of course, in achieving a certain level, you have to take a certain amount of actions that you can prove. That is very important, that you can also prove that you've taken them according to the standard that is defined. And each X years, they update the standard to become, let's say, a little bit more ambitious, I like to call it, and to help the buildings even become more sustainable in design and construction.
And it's given on a project level, right? It's not given on an organizational level.
Yeah, it's given on asset level. And we've done it for ourselves in Bilzen as well. We achieved the highest score of BREEAM, which is the outstanding, and we combined it with LEED, which is actually more or less the same philosophy, but it's the US standard. So it entails the same philosophy, but it is a US standard.
And are those for-profit or non-profit organizations, BREEAM and...
They definitely demand fees in order to make sure that they can cover their costs. If they're for-profit, that's a good question. I need to ask the experts here internally if that is the thing. But they definitely demand fees for their services because I think they have quite some people employed in order to do the controlling part of the certification. So they have to be paid somewhere. But I don't think it's a very extremely profit-driven commercial organization.
And then how does it work? For example, your office now has the highest level, but then every couple of years it gets more strict. Then does it say highest level of 2022?
Good question.
Or does it get degraded again?
It's a good question. There are certain schemes, let's say. So for BREEAM, you have the new construction scheme that if you complete it according to the standard, for example, of 2014 of 2016, then your certificate says this building or asset is certified according to the new construction standard of 2016, and it's actually valid for the lifetime of the building. Of course, you can also certify buildings that are already existing. We can certify this building if you want. It's an in-use standard, as they call it. Or if we would do a proper refurbishment, we can use the refurbishment standard. But then there's an update required every 3 years. And then, of course, we need to see if between now and those 3 years certain demands have been changed. Then we need to take extra measures and investments in order to make our building more performant.
Okay. Fascinating. Let's see. So in construction, are there any other really promising like methodologies or technologies that you are focusing on right now as an organization where you can really see, okay, this is where the industry is going. This is something that's going to enable us to have a lot of impact on the 3 axes, the social, economical, and environmental?
Yeah. I think one of the trends in the construction sector is definitely the CO2 performance ladder. It's a methodology. I call it green public procurement methodology. And what it actually does, you can certify yourself as an organization via this methodology. And if you are certified, you have levels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And according to the level that you have in a public tender, for example, to build a new administrative center or a school, they can give a certain weighting towards the achievement that you have on the ladder. And if, for example, you have a level 3 level on the performance ladder, then you can get like a virtual discount and your price can be a little bit higher. So your sustainability efforts are actually valorized in the procurement process. That is something that has started in the Netherlands, I think already 5 years ago, maybe a little bit more, and is now making its entry in Belgium. I think today, and there will also be a shift, of course, because today, of course, it still gives you a certain benefit if you're on the ladder, but I think in the future it will be your entry ticket to even participate in certain assignments or certain projects. Yeah. That is definitely a trend that we see contractors who are active in, let's say, the infrastructure works, building bridges, roads, making sure that our waterways are maintained and upgraded. Yeah, those contractors are, of course, implementing these CO2 performance methodology in order to make sure that they keep competitive in the public landscape.
And that's something that's used in contracting for governments. Do you also see it becoming a thing in contracting for private realizations?
I don't think I have a use case here in my memory now today, but it could, of course, be a good tool in order to make sure that, for example, developers also valorize the sustainability efforts of contractors. If they would develop a project and they put out a tender for searching a contractor, they could use the same methodology. Nothing prevents them from doing so. What you also see is that actually the called green procurement, that actually the sustainability efforts and level of your suppliers are also taken into account when making a decision in choosing a supplier. That is definitely something that is coming up, not only in the construction industry, but in the broader industry. Yeah, definitely a trend.
Okay.
In terms of technology, there's of course more the energy side, but we see the battery technology, the large-scale battery technology now being implemented more and more. So that is something I'm closely following up to see how this emerges. We also give advice to customers to really make their business case very specific and well calculated. So those are things that I'm seeing. Yeah.
Can you give some examples of like what are great business cases that you've seen in the market for these big battery installations? Yeah. I personally find it also quite fascinating how the grid is going to evolve with this.
Yeah, definitely. I think the core of having a good business case for batteries is, of course, the fact that you stack different value streams. So it's not only putting a battery because you overproduce a little bit of renewable energy and you want to use it at a different time when you actually need it. That is not the sole driver of the business case. The business case can be driven by of course, the market, the energy market, which is very volatile at the moment. We are experiencing more and more hours of negative energy prices in the Belgian and European energy market, which means that the battery being able to actually charge with energy on terms of when there are negative prices is actually an income model. But also being like a strategic reserve for Elia can give you certain revenue streams. Also making your production processes more flexible in terms of the battery, but also in terms of business continuity. If we go up north a little bit in the Netherlands, you see that there's a huge challenge with regards to grid congestion. So companies, but also houses, are not getting the connection in order to get electricity from the grid. So if you want to grow your business and your grid operator says, you're at your limit, then you have to look for other solutions. Then a battery, and of course a renewable energy asset like a wind turbine or a solar installation can help you in getting some extra capacity and reserve for for the expansion of your business or the continuity of your business.
Yeah, we've done our first couple of pilot projects in the Netherlands.
Yeah,
We've been in discussion with multiple parties for some bigger projects, and it's something that always comes up. We've been requesting the connection. What is it? A year in advance or longer?
and we're not 6 years.
We're not sure if we're gonna get it on time, and that's like the crucial element to get the project going. And as a Belgian, you're like, whoa.
Yeah, for us, it's very very normal that if we go to Fluvius and we ask for a grid connection, that we get it. But also there, we have also seen some cases where Fluvius already said, like, okay, it will take you some more time, about a year, 18 months, 2 years, in order to get the connection. Then it's like, okay, with this new information, what do I have to do? Do I have to wait? Can I wait? Which investments do help me in making some more speed in my business case? So this is what's happening today, and I think it's very interesting, of course, because if those problems emerge, then we also need to find solutions in order to tackle them. That's what makes our job also very interesting.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's always changing, eh?
Yeah, it's always changing.
Quicker and quicker.
Yeah. In the real estate sector as well, you've seen that the large logistic real estate players like WDP, Montea, VGP, they're not only in real estate, they're also in the energy production business today. They have been generating, they've of course been developing lots of solar plants on their large roof surfaces, now also implementing battery technology, because they have like small virtual power plants and they can start trading energy on the market. So their business model is changing from getting €1 per square meter towards getting €1 per kilowatt hour. And so they become the energy supplier. That is fundamentally changing businesses. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Do they then have people, like, do they hire energy traders, or is it all via algorithms?
Well, I think there's not one answer to the question. You have parties who do everything in-house. They start investing in acquiring people who are very familiar with trading energy or developing energy projects, and they get professionals in-house. Some of them look for specialized companies. For example, we help certain of those players with developing the solar roofs. Then you have specialized companies in trading energy, like Odot today. They also have a good solution. I think the ecosystem is well staffed with solution providers, and then there's of course the strategy of the customers. Some of them do it in-house, they want to integrate everything, and some of them use the help of providers like ourselves.
Isn't it, I read it recently, but maybe you know a little bit more about it. Is it also true that the cost of these batteries have been dropping dramatically? Like the cost of solar has been going down for, what is it, decades now, at a much quicker rate than anyone expected. I heard that this is now also happening with batteries. Yeah. Do you see this on the field?
Yeah, the cost is, the investment cost is dropping, not yet in the, let's say, at the steepness of the curve like solar did, but it is dropping. It is becoming more realistic to create a business case due to the drop of investment costs. But it is still a considerable investment, I'd say. So I don't think we're hitting a bottom yet. There's definitely some margin for let's say competition in the sector and economy of scale. That definitely, but there has been a drop. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe before we we go to some more closing questions.
Mhm.
Maybe one or two more questions about the industry itself.
Yeah.
Do you see any companies that you've worked with or that you are familiar with that
Mhm.
really are circular or sustainable leaders in the Flanders? Without, of course, I mean, this could be a
Yeah.
sensitive subject for you, I know.
Yeah, no,
But
no,
like
no.
any
Yeah.
you can give a shout out or say that's really cool to look into. Or,
Yeah. Actually, yes. If it comes down to like the circular product or circular business model, I must say that quite recently, I think one of the companies that is situated very, very close by, Tectum, they're active in roof covering. They now have an innovation, I think it was called Bos Cover, which is actually a circular solution for EPDM roofs. So you see there some innovation and also a very conservative business, I would say, the roof covers. Then something completely different.
Quick question.
Yeah.
The roof covers, that's the thing they burn normally, right?
Yeah.
And they've made a circular solution.
Yeah, they made a circular solution.
Oh, that's great.
So I think they launched it about 6 months ago, somewhere like that. So I think it's interesting to have a closer look there on what the benefits are and how it's going. If you take a look at the retail side, you see that big retailers like AZ Adventure and JBC or Klaas Retail Group are also embracing the circular business model. For AZ Adventure, of course, you have the repair service that can help you extend the life cycle of your product, of your clothing or your tent or whatever. And GBC or Klaas Retail Group, they acquired Honest. It's like a circular jeans brand. So there you see some movements. And maybe also, of course, because it's the Limburg connection, I think like Vario Food Group in Lommel, they have like the circular business model with beer crates, where they help like smaller breweries in optimizing their supply chain with the circular beer crate that they developed. And then in the real estate sector, with regards to sustainable leaders, I think here in Belgium we have Upgrade Estate, which is definitely I think an example of a pioneering company and a conservative business as the real estate and construction sector, who has definitely been pioneering with sustainability as a competitive advantage. And also Wanaka Partners, which is formerly known as Tribeca and Cobelpro, who have recently merged. They definitely put sustainability at the front of their value proposition. So I think we are well staffed in Belgium with sustainable and circular leaders.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great to hear. Anything else you would like to share, Pieter-Jan, before we go to our traditional closing questions about Encon? Anything else you would like to communicate to the audience?
Yeah, if you're interested by the story, please reach out. Or if you have ideas on how we can collaborate or co-create things, definitely reach out. I'm also always open for a coffee and a good idea. We're also looking for colleagues, so if you feel interested by the story and you want to be part of it, definitely visit the website and look for the vacancies. So that is from my side.
Great. We'll also put all the show notes below in the episode. So I think that you mentioned the listeners can find there.
Okay.
So we have these couple of questions that we usually ask at the end of an episode.
Yeah.
We've made one specifically a little bit more January themed.
Mm-hmm.
We thought it would be interesting to hear about your New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
Anything for 2025 that you would like to do differently or that you're aiming for to achieve? Could be about Encon, could also be personally.
Yeah. Well, in terms of Encon, we have been making our organization, let's say, fit for the future, I would like to call it like that. So we have made some decisions in terms of strategy and organizational structure that make us agile and ready to grow again. So my personal goal is, of course, to to have a good implementation of this strategy, a good execution of this strategy, and grow in a profitable way again as Encon. From a personal side, I have a target that I read 1 book per month. So I like to keep that target. I don't want to have 13 books. 12 in a year is good. So that is one I will keep. And in terms of active lifestyle, each year I choose some sportive goals. Last year I cycled Mallorca 312. It was a big cycling Gran Fondo in Mallorca of 312 kilometers. And now I'm into marathon running. So I will participate in 2 marathons before the end of April. So I hope that I get injury-free at the finish there. And further, staying happy and healthy is what I would like to achieve.
And 2 marathons in 1 month?
Before the end of April. So one will be in February.
Okay.
In the beautiful national park of Limburg, throughout the trails of Maasmechelen. And then I will also be at the start of the marathon from Brussels to Leuven in April. Yeah, so
awesome.
a lot of running. Unfortunately, not in the good conditions of dry weather and sun, but I don't really mind. Yeah.
Then we will maybe meet each other there in Leuven.
Okay.
I'm doing the half marathon.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Very nice.
If you could have a drink with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
Yeah. Ellen MacArthur. I don't know if you know her, but she is actually like...
From the Institute?
From the Ellen MacArthur Foundation.
Okay.
So what's her background, or why her? She actually combines 2 of the things I'm very passionate about. She has been a professional sailor. I've also been sailing a lot throughout my life. And she was the first woman to break the world record for a solo sailing race around the world. So she did it in 71 days in 2005.
All across the world?
All across the world, 40,000 miles.
Alone?
Yeah, alone. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. So that itself is quite inspiring. But of course, if you conquer nature like that in its purest form, you also see how it's been damaged throughout the industrial revolutions and so on. So after her sailing career, she decided to put all her time and resources and effort in a circularity and sustainability foundation, where she collaborates with governments, companies, and NGOs in terms of taking action towards making our economy more circular and sustainable. So she actually combines 2 of my passions, and I think it would be very interesting in having lunch or a coffee with her. Yeah.
How old is she now?
That's a good question. Because she was quite young when she did it in 2005. The solo race, definitely not above 30. So
okay, so she's still quite young.
I think she will be under 50 or approaching 50 max. Yeah.
So if you listen to this, Mrs. MacArthur, give Pieter-Jan a call.
Yeah.
No, great answer. Very inspiring. 71 days?
71 days, yeah. On a sailboat, only with the wind. So just using the resources of nature. Yeah. And scary as hell, I think.
Ah, man. Yeah, I've done... my parents, back in the day, they really enjoyed cruises.
Yeah.
So against my will, I found myself multiple weeks on cruise boats already in my youth. And we once passed through the Irish and English Channel.
Ah, yeah.
And weather picked up.
Yeah.
And we found ourselves in quite a big storm.
Yeah.
And just the idea that you find yourself in something like that with a small boat, that scares the Jesus out of me. Holy moly.
Yeah, and I think when I was quite young already, I read her book. about a race, and it was like when you read it, when I read it, I was like, oh, if this would happen to me, showing the persistence and having the courage to proceed, not giving up. Yeah, it's a matter of life and death.
Yeah.
So big respect for such achievements.
If you're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, something happens.
Yeah. And there always
Good
happens.
luck.
There always happens something.
Yeah,
Always.
I can imagine. Yeah.
So it's about planning, being prepared, adapt yourselves towards the unforeseen circumstances. Something I also like about sailing, but I don't go further than Newport, Ostende, or Belgium coast is fine for me now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And then last, but maybe not least, you already mentioned you're an avid reader.
Yeah.
Any book recommendations in the beginning of this new year? I think multiple people will have maybe the goal to read a bit more.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of my favorite books is called The Essentie. So in English, the Essence. It's written by Ignace van Doorselaere. It's been a business professional leader that has a quite amazing career in several companies like AB InBev, Van de Velde, Neuhaus, and so on. I must say what he did, he wrote like, what should I have wanted to know when I was 20? Now that I have my experience of 40 year in a 40-year career, and he has a very sharp pen. Let's say, I think he's also a columnist, and that is one of the books I was like, damn, how good can you bring it in words? The lessons in management and entrepreneurship. Yeah, that is a good book that I would definitely recommend. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's funny, I have the same goal as you, so one book a month.
Yeah.
I noticed, do you have Goodreads?
Yeah.
So I noticed like 5-6 years ago, I was able to read like 15 to 17 books a year.
Yeah.
And I just saw at the beginning of this year, for the first time, I did like an annual review.
Okay.
To see like last year, what were the things that went well.
Yeah.
And I went to Goodreads and I saw that every year it was becoming 1 or 2 books less.
Yeah.
With last year being only, I think 9, 8.
Yeah.
And I was like, God damn it, no. I want to achieve at least, as you say, a book a month.
One a month. But sometimes when you buy a book, for example, I think last year I did Thinking Fast and Slow from Daniel Kahneman.
Yeah, but that's
rough. I had to read books in parallel because it took me 3 months to finish the book. So sometimes it's not so easy to finish one in a month.
If you choose the wrong one, yes.
Yeah.
I tried that once, and I found you have Michael Moore.
Yeah.
Is it Michael Moore? No, the guy who wrote The Big Short.
I think it's...
No, Michael Moore is the guy who makes movies.
Yeah.
God damn it, now I need to know.
Yeah.
He's this really well-known, I think he's the most well-known economic writer in the West, at least.
Yeah.
And he wrote a book about the life of the Thinking Fast and Slow. How is he called again? My memory today. Daniel Kahneman and Travowski, the guy who did the research with him. And it was great because the book, it's very well written. Michael Lewis.
Michael Lewis,
That's the guy.
Right.
And Michael Lewis, he writes like an angel. And through the biography of the people who did the theory, you also get to understand their ideas, but in a much more approachable and also just more amusing way than the quite thick
it was really,
book.
It felt like studying.
It
felt like studying, and it was quite heavy. But nevertheless, I persisted and I finished it. without the appendix that I skipped. Yeah.
I think it's often listed as the number one book who was started the most and was never finished.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
It's called, the book that I was talking, it's called The Undoing Project, a friendship that changed our minds.
Okay.
It was a really enjoyable book.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have actually achieved the end. I was gonna say we are approaching the end, but no, that's something that happens during podcasts. Time flies by. So I would like to thank you very much. I can imagine that you have a very busy schedule with your 100 people to manage.
I do, and of course at home I still have my girlfriend and my dog.
Okay.
We had a puppy recently. We had a puppy. We brought a puppy in our family, a beagle. So there's a lot
stubborn,
stubborn, but it's okay. We can manage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for making the time. It was a very interesting conversation.
Yeah.
I hope the work that you do with Encon can only continue to grow. As you've mentioned, it's been growing quite aggressively. I have understood.
Yeah.
But I really hope it keeps growing because it sounds like you do amazing work.
Yeah.
So,
thank you.
Best of luck, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Benjamin.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to the Bao Podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe to our channel. If you're interested in Bao Living in our Smart Adaptable Module or SAM, go check out our website baoliving.com. If you want to stay up to date, you can best subscribe to our monthly newsletter on our website or follow us on all social media platforms where we're named @Bao Living.